you had cancer, if you're diagnosed with it today, what would you do?
Die, probably.
If you're like most people who haven't got a clue, this is what you would do. Run to the established medical system for treatment. That's what most people do. And these are, what are the main options that the system will offer you? You're all familiar with them, right? Chemotherapy, radiotherapy, surgery. Two of the above are all free. Now, this is the tragedy. None of these treatments deals with the root cause. None of them do. And, I mean, common sense tells you that if you don't fix the root, what's the point? If you didn't fix the root, you live in your life it's like a Russian roulette thing you got going on there. Because you have no idea when the root is going to come back. It's like when they use the word that you're in remission. Anybody know what remission means?
Recovery stage, is it?
Pardon?
How do you explain the surviving after?
Pardon?
How do you explain the surviving after those treatment? The people survive.
Okay, that's just indicative of how well designed the body is. That you could see somebody in the gutter drinking and doing all sorts of things and they still alive. You think, how does he eat food? He's just drinking and smoking and living in the gutter and he's still alive. The human body is designed extraordinarily well. It takes an extraordinary amount of abuse. So that is why I make the point in my book is that to get cancer, because of the extraordinary defense system that you have to do a serious amount of work to kill it. In terms of diet and lifestyle, you have to try really, really hard. Right, so we say none of these treatments deal with the root cause. Right? So, and that should be your objective to deal with. So I'll ask a question about remission. Anybody? Remission, like I tried to, one of the things I explained in the book about remission is a very simple thing. All it means is that they physically can't see any cancer in the body. So it's not like something very doctorish or something. All remission means that I can't physically see nothing in the body. But you know, there's a thing called cancer cells you can physically see when the cells become cancerous. So they look, they scan, they look, oh, we can't see nothing, so you're in remission. But it doesn't mean that they can, because if the root cause is there, because let's look at it this way, before the cancer cells develop into where you can physically see them, the root cause would have been there, wouldn't it? So, what you have done nothing by saying, oh, I can't see it in remission, go home and wait and see. You haven't done anything, because all you've done is say to me, well, if you had come to me at the beginning before they manifest, I wouldn't have been able to see anything anyway. That's all you've told me. Anyway, let's move on. So, the point I was saying is that they don't deal with the root cause of the disease, right? And this is not a secret, but they're not hiding this from you. Why is that? They tell you every day. They call everything they do treatment. You never go to your doctor and say, listen, this will cure you. No, they don't use that language. They say treat. So they're not hiding it from you that they're not fixing your problem. They just say, we just treat you. And let me just make a point. It's one of a very simple way to explain their medicines, things like taking something for a headache. What the thing does is what? Dull the nerve that transmits the pain. It's like when I go to my doctor for a clean, my teeth are too sensitive. I can't deal with that clean. So he gives me an injection. Does it mean that the nerves are not being pain, the pain is not there? It just means I can't feel it. So that's how their system works. They deal with the symptom, but the root cause as to why the problem is never dealt with. You need to understand that. That is why we need to educate ourselves about how their medicine work. And that's what part of why the research is done. The actual research to find a cure for cancer is big business. Because and then I mentioned there's a deception in the idea that there's such a thing as a single cure. Now the point about the actual research being big business, how long have they been researching? Do you all know? over 100 years. So if I've been researching for over 100 years, how much money have I made in that time researching? So research in itself becomes the end in itself. And then the point I'm saying, once you understand the nature of the disease, what you'll understand is research is like looking for the sunset in the north. You could walk forever, you won't find the sunset in the north. But they're looking in the wrong direction, the point they're making. In terms of what they're trying to do, and what they're trying to do is to find a drug that will cure cancer. But it's even worse for their situation. Not just are they looking to find a drug, they need to find a drug that's patentable. Because if they don't patent what they find, after spending hundreds of millions to develop something, then they have no business, because somebody could copy it and sell it. So the reason why the patented idea is important for you to understand, for something to qualify as a patent, it has to be a unique synthetic combination of drugs. You cannot patent an herb, for example. It's not allowed to patent an herb because anybody can grow it. You can't say, oh, I patent this herb, I found this herb and I patent it. That's not allowed in law. You can only patent a unique combination of synthetic things. There even goes far to say, if it have the same ingredients like some of another thing, another drug, it's not patentable.
In fact, last year there was an attempt to patent turmeric.
Mm-hmm.
Turmeric.
Yeah, because it is such a powerful herb, and the course was straight out the Supreme Court.
Right. So the point is, the human body doesn't change in terms of its personal biochemistry for the past hundreds of thousands of years. But each time you need to make something unique, synthetic, to try and deal with this body that stays in one place. Then, furthermore, the body deals with nutrition. The body doesn't deal with synthetic chemicals. The body doesn't recognize it as it either reject things or it absorbs it. The body do two things with things that enter it. It either assimilate it, mean digest it, or we try to get rid of it. That's what the body does. So everything you put in the body, that's the two things that the body does. Either try to use it, find a way to utilize it, or try to reject it. Right, so the whole idea of a single cure is impossible because of the nature of the disease. As I mentioned earlier, there is no single herb. Herbs is more beneficial in terms of it doesn't harm the body. So it can kill the cancer cell and prolong your life in that sense. If you can find a herb that can kill the cancer cells, then you can survive a lot longer because it's not destroying your healthy cells in the process. So it's more desirable than chemo that kills the bad cells and the good cells. Yeah, the evidence that cancer can be reversed or cured. Right. This is the evidence. It started in 1924 by a doctor named Otto Warburg. And it was confirmed by another clinical trial done in 2009 by Cancer Research UK. So this is where we're talking about the science of the matter now.
A big gap.
Exactly. Right, the nature of the disease suggests that no single drug or single anything will cure cancer. Right, let's have a look at the nature of medicine. So before we go into all of this, right? Because people need to understand the dominant medicine that we all sign up for. Every day we go to our GP or hospital. It's called allopathic medicine, right? That's the name that it is commonly referred to, allopathic medicine. Now, it's been said time and time in the discussion here that its primary focus is on the treatment of disease, or to be more accurate, it focuses on the treatment of the symptom of the disease. That is its basic focus. And I mentioned the thing about the headache. It deals with the symptom, not the cause of why it is hurting you. It just deals with, so you stop the pain and that's it. Right, the cause is never dealt with. Next one. So it suppresses symptom of the disease, it doesn't cure. Right, so we all know this to be true. There's no cure for all of these major diseases. Cancer, diabetes, arthritis, etc. There's no cure, there's treatment, right? But we all sign up for this, and this becomes natural for us, the norm. And the norm, even though the norm is ridiculous, the idea that you're taking medicine for life, it just should be ridiculous if our mind was in the right place. that you're on drugs for life, but it is well for the people who are in business. That if I could get something that you need to take every day, I'm set for life. Right? If I can sell you something and you need to take it repeatedly every day, I'm set for life. Right. I just brought this in to do with us as black people. This is not in the book, about the world history and all that, the part that it played. And I mentioned earlier that Dr. Africa was saying that before he addressed a group of black people, he said, pretend that I'm white so that you can believe me. Right? And it's funny, but it's not really funny. But the reality, there is truth to it. That we don't believe that we knew anything about medicine because we've been cut off from our history. We know nothing about our ancestors, how great they were in terms of medicine and all of that.
True.
We don't know that the first father of medicine was called Imhotep, an Egyptian. And then the man that they credit with medicine is called who? Hippocrates. And he's the one that when you take, if you do a medical course now in this Western philosophy, you take the Hippocratic Oath, right? Meaning that you're adhering to the principle of Hippocrates, who's supposed to have been. And the story goes, Hippocrates spent 2 years in Egypt learning medicine. The system that he learned under apparently lasted for 13 years. So he was a dropout. He spent 2 years and come back to Europe and he's a star. And they established their medicine based on his knowledge. So my learning of my history gave me the confidence to do this, because we are the father of humanity. That's part of what it taught me anyway, learning about our history. So the greatness of my ancestor gave me personal confidence and racial esteem that we are great people. So we can do anything, and we were the ones who set the trend before everybody else arrived. And we all did mass. I know they were performing surgery in Africa long before Europeans knew anything about it, right? Many of us don't know this. So anyway, that's a side issue. Now let's deal with history and medicine, partly to do with Europe. Long before there was allopathic medicine, there was what? Naturopathic medicine, or herbal medicine, the medicine our ancestors used. The oldest medicine in the world is this. And look at the time scale now, right? If there's a diversion again in terms of history, the anthropologist says human being has been on this planet for that 200,000 years in terms of what they call modern man. Homo sapiens sapien, modern man 200,000 years. The European man was not here at the beginning. That is a later development. And that is credited with only 20,000 years. Not Africans saying this, it's Europeans saying this, because we are not involved too much in that science. They are saying that, they're going around digging up bones. So the point I'm making is, their medicine is within that time frame. Very, very brief time frame. Furthermore, it's not even as much as we will be saying 20,000 years. It would be in the limit of what? The past century, when their medicine started to develop. And we see that later on. So, China, for example, one of the most populous nations, uses herbal medicine. I went there in 2004 and they were using herbs in their hospital. That's what I saw. Right, the other thing that history helps you to understand is that this is what we call observational science. That if you see a certain pattern of behavior and you see it linked to certain things, you can say, oh, that's related to that. So the cancer thing, for example, one of the information I got, they're saying in the early part of the century, cancer was not in the medical books, according to one source. It wasn't listed in the medical books at all. So cancer was not known like 1890 something and 90. They were saying it wasn't listed in the medical books. But we have the impression cancer has been here forever. It's not always been here from ancient times. We have no record of that. You can believe it, but where's the evidence? So there is just the same point I mentioned about children having cancer. We know it started to kick off in the 60s, they reckon. And that coincided with a certain shift in the dietary changes with children. Right? Now here's a little history about, as I say, it's good to understand the nature of the medicine and why they think the way they do and why they perform the way they perform in terms of the medicine that we all sign up to, right? So this is called allopathic medicine. This is a little history. Now here they're saying about the practice of medicine in Europe and North America during the early 19th century. It's sometimes referred to as heroic medicine. And this is why it is called that because of the extreme measures such as bloodletting, sometimes employed in an effort to treat disease. So historically, they use extreme method to cure most things. None of this subtle thing with herb and gradually let the body do its thing. None of that. They use extreme method historically. That's how their things start, and it's still going on today. Here are some examples of what they used to do for you to have a sense. And this, we're talking in the 1900s. We're not talking like thousands of years ago. They're doing this like a few, a couple of hundred years ago. They're doing this. Example of leeches. They used to use these on people in the 1900s and during the, go on. Leeches have been historically used in medicine to remove blood from patients. The practice of leeching can be traced to ancient India and Greece and continued well into the 18th and 19th centuries in both Europe and North America. In modern times, the practice of leeching is much rarer and has been replaced by other contemporary uses of leeches, such as reattachment of body parts and reconstructive and plastic surgeries. In Germany, treating osteoarthritis. This is an example of how they put leech on people to take blood. They're doing this not so long ago. So don't get the idea that they've had like thousands of years practicing. They're just in the baby stage of their medicine. During the Victorian era, leeches were somewhat more popular for the general use in medicine. When is Victorian period? What period? How long ago is that talking about? 18 something is Victorian period? Right, that's not so long ago. They're using all of this. So in the Victorian period, it was popular. They were prescribed for most ailments, ranging from headaches to hemorrhoids, from nervous fatigue to lymphomania. Why is that? Excessive sexual appetite? Is that what that is? Anyway, the point is, we need to have the context in which the medicine that we believe in so much, where is it coming from, and how recent it is. Because we believe in it too much. That's our problem. So, this suggests the system is relatively new. All of that I'm saying to you just to give you this perspective. It's a very new system. It's not an ancient medicine. It's still an experimental medicine to a large extent. Because everything that they're doing, they're still what? Researching it. Meaning what? We don't fully understand it. You cannot name an illness that they're not still researching. Which means what? We don't understand it fully. When you understand something, you stop researching. We're not researching how to make radio, are we? No, we know how to make radios. So we don't research how to make radios. You just want to make a radio. You just make it better, but that's about it. Now, modern day extreme allopathic medicine is what? What we all know. What's the example of extreme? An example of extreme?
Surgery.
Chemotherapy. Chemotherapy is extreme. Why? It's the #1 choice as well. You know that they've been using chemo for over 70 years? It's been the #1 choice for over 70 years. And yet, so what is the nature of it? Kills good cells and bad cells. I call it the scorcher policy. Burn everything out. Every man for himself. Just burn everything out. It's still in the same mindset from over the centuries, how they look at the body. Furthermore, listen to the language they use. The war. Because they see cancer as what? Something attacking the body. Because if you look up their definition of cancer, they say it's a rogue cells that are attacking the body. And we need to fight back and kill this thing. It's the same way when they say they call it an heart attack, like your heart is attacking you. There is no heart. Your heart doesn't attack you. Your heart is the strongest muscle in the body. Now, it's the #1 cause of death. Suggests that you have done some serious attacking to compromise the strongest, the most powerful organ in your body. And it's the commonest cause of death at various age. It tells you, it's not just 1 or 2 things that we're doing wrong. We're doing a lot of things wrong. Because that art is the muscle is so powerful. And people compromise that within record time. But in their world, we need to fight heart attack. We need to fight cancer. It's all about fight. And that's the way they treat the body. Something that they need to attack and burn things out. So those are the options you need to learn about so that you make choices. Right. We're going to look at now the ancient principle, the nature of what is called naturopathic. If you look at the word naturopathic, oh, sorry, I'm still on allopathic in it. Right, the system is set up to find a chemical cure. The system is not set up to deal with the root cause of disease. You need to understand that. The system is set up to find a chemical cure. It is not set up to find the root cause of anything. That's not what it's set up to do. It is set up to find ways, because you need to understand this as well. There's two set of people. Well, there are more than two, but the two main ones is you have the people who do the research, and then you have the people who supply the drug. So the pharmaceutical, they are the ones who have the resources to go and do the so-called development of a drug. And they are the ones who drive the industry. So the doctor in itself, let us say the doctor graduated 10 years ago. He has to go, when you go to him, if he diagnoses, and that's his training to diagnose, for example. If he diagnoses that you have whatever disease might be, he has to look in the manual and say, well, what is the pharmaceutical company saying I should give you? What has been approved now that I should give you? He himself is not a doctor in the traditional way of being a doctor. He's prescribing a drug based on what the pharmaceutical company have told him. So what is this pharmaceutical self-interest? To do what? They're in business. They're business. So their thing is, can I make something that's patentable? And can I get it approved? And then once I get it approved, I have a ready audience for it. Because people are sick. And that's what it is. Now, here is a man that I mentioned earlier, Imhotep. African man, Egyptian. He said this: let your food be your medicine and your medicine be your food. Now let me let you in a secret. He was not talking about biscuit and cakes and things like that. That's not what he meant by your food be your medicine. Or meat and all of that stuff. He was referring to things that are still alive. Live food has live energy. Live food will make you live. Dead food will make you dead. That's the simple chemistry of the thing. Your body needs energy. Energy is what? The ultimate state of life. The ultimate lack of energy is what? Death. So everything is to do with energy. The body does, that's the one thing the body does is produce energy. Right? And the thing that, what produces the best quality energy is what makes the body healthy. So this is what the pronouncement was. And later on, who do you think they credit the saying to? Let your food be your medicine. Hippocrates.
The hypocrite.
Well, he said, this is where he got it from. Anyway, I didn't mention him in the book anyway. Yeah, I did. Actually, I did. I didn't mention both of them. I mentioned both of them just to satisfy both candidates. Sorry. I did mention both of them just to, just in case people say, oh, can a black man be talking about hypocrites? Anyway. So I said, this is the most ancient principle of the naturopath. So most people have a problem absorbing the idea that food is medicine. Because we've been programming to think, medicine has to be something that is done in a lab. It has to be a pill, something that you take. But the idea that you eat to live, well, what we do today, we live to what? Eat. We do the opposite. But the real wise position is to live, is to eat to live, not the other way around. Chemicals cannot cure the natural body. So the naturopaths focus on change of diet, lifestyle, and herbal supplements. Body cannot get energy from chemical medicine. Cannot get energy from it. So that's part of the problem when you do their type of thing. Because, as I said to you, energy is everything to keep you alive. And when you're in a state of illness, that's the time when you need energy the most. So if you're not engaged with some form of energy intake at the time when you're being treated, you're not doing much for the body. All you're doing is asking the body to dig into its reserve. Because the body stores energy. You're asking the body to dig into its reserve for its energy. But you're not adding anything to the body. So, and the problem with many of the illness we get is that it cuts off our appetite. So we don't want to eat anything. But really and truly, you drink juices, and that will solve the problem to a certain extent. So we said, cannot get energy from chemical medicine. It has to come from food or herb. Energy is vital to fight diseases, right? So that the book is a lot about that. So the question is, why are we so ill-informed about a disease that kills so many? So you'd have thought with all the money that they made. You heard about a company that recently want to take over a company in this country, a pharmaceutical company, they offer over 60 billion.
Yeah.
Never even heard of them.
Yeah, American.
And they said it wasn't enough. That should give you a sense of what size of business we're dealing with here, and what sort of self-interest is here. Because that company is not even a known company, never heard of them before. They turned down 60 billion for their company. So this is not a joke thing, right? So they get all this money, like Cancer Research UK get hundreds of millions each year. What are they doing with the money? You don't think it will be helpful if they put some research information, explain the nature of the disease to people, how people get cancer, etc.? You know what I found on the WHO website? One of the high-rated things for causing cancer, I didn't know this, is alcohol. Is that common knowledge?
Not at all.
That's not common knowledge, is it? We know about cigarette, and that was fight for. How many years they'll resist that one? So it's going to take a while for us to get to the point where we accept that food is causing disease. It's going to take a while for the masses of the world to accept that. It's going to take time. But alcohol, the point I mentioned about alcohol, if the WHO have this on their website as one of the prime cause of cancer, why are they not, they are supposed to be a non-profit organization, isn't it? Why are they not advertising it and promoting it and putting it on the bottle the way they put things on cigarette packets?
Because
This is the point I want you to get a sense of what we're dealing with here. That if you don't understand that there's these different self-interests and you don't educate yourself, right? If you don't educate, if I never did the research to write this book, I will find these things out, and nobody's coming to tell me. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm just saying to people, you need to educate yourself about this stuff. Because I can't give you all of it in this presentation, just to give you a sense of it, right?
But excuse me, what's the point of saying cigarette is bad, it's damaging the body, alcohol is bad, it's damaging, while companies still promoting it, making it?
That's your money.
No, the point I'm saying is that the cigarette company, for years the government didn't put any notice on the cigarette and all of that. And some years ago, in America, they took them to court and won hundreds of millions, saying in the 60s when nobody warned them. Sorry, they said there was not enough warning, so they sued the company and got money from them. But so now the government sort of made, in my opinion, this is just a theory, that they work out that it costs them more to treat people than the revenue that, because you know every time, budget time, they put a penny on cigarette or something and raise money. They probably work out now it's more expensive to treat people than the money they get from it. So now they've decided to ban advertising in this country, put it on the cigarette. The point is, it's within human nature to want to poison himself and do all sorts of crazy things. Or within the European cultural nature, let's put it that way. Right? Let's put it that way, because nature is a very, very funny word. I don't like to use the human nature thing. It's too misleading. It's in the cultural nature of Europe for people to find ways. So the whole idea of banning things don't work. Like, they tried that with alcohol back in the day when they had prohibition in America, and they produced Al Capone. So the banning idea is not the issue. The idea that I'm approaching is education. Give people information, and that's my problem with them. Give people enough information for them to decide. The vast majority of people who hear that alcohol causes cancer will not stop. But if you save even a few 100,000 people who say, listen, I heard and I'm going to stop, then it's worth it, in my opinion. Right? That's your job. You're in the job to help people, so do that job well. Right, there is no need for any more research, as I've said. They have already done 2. So, I said there is 2 that has already been done, and they provide all the information needed to solve the problem of cancer. Right? So, we're going to look at the 2 clinical research now. That is my opinion. As I mentioned in Dr. Otto Warburg, he did one in 1924, as I mentioned at the beginning, that the cure was known from 1924. So it's this man. That's the period that he was born and died. Right? He was born then and died in 1970. They gave him a Nobel Prize for his research. So that's not what? They agree with him. You don't give people Nobel Prize for talking rubbish, right? So they agree with what he found about cancer as the nature of the disease, which most people are not familiar with. Which I'm saying, why they don't do a documentary on this and put it on TV? Right? Next slide, right? this is the man, Dr. Warburg. He did the research and they gave him a Nobel Prize. This is what he discovered. I'm just going to give you a little basic outline about this thing. He discovered that when cells lose their ability to fully utilize oxygen, some of them become cancerous. That's the simplest way I can explain it. Right? So it might sound like, that's simple. But guess what? There's a thing I demonstrate in the book about the different times you can live without different things. How long can you go without food? A month or two or something? Longer. How long can you go without water?
2 days, 3 days.
Less time, yes. Depending on body weight and heat and all that stuff, right? How long can you go without oxygen?
4 minutes?
Pardon me?
Yeah, no.
Oxygen.
Oxygen.
Yes.
If you're a good diver, you can hold it back for 5 minutes.
Right, so you might, let us say if you got 10 minutes to break the world record or something. The point is oxygen is critical to life.
Yeah.
Furthermore, what is the underlying cause of a stroke? Lack of oxygen to the brain. What's the underlying cause of heart disease? Lack of oxygen to the heart. Oxygen is in all of it. So we're saying that when tissues lose its ability for oxygen, this is what the thing is now. What they should have done when they see the Dr. Warburg thing, and with the detail, I analyzed a lot more in the book, is to say, well, what caused the body to lose its ability to utilize oxygen? So we're going deeper and deeper into the root. What caused the body to lose its ability? All right? Go back a bit. Go back. What did I? Okay, you're gone. Right. So one of the things that was found out is that when the body loses its ability to utilize oxygen, it starts to utilize, because the cells do one thing only. They try to make energy. That's what the cells try to do all the time. So what happens is that in the normal course of things, the cells use oxygen and combine it with glucose or sugar to make energy. That's the normal way the cells make it energy, right? In this thing, they call it ATP. When the cells cannot get enough oxygen, it starts to use carbon dioxide to make energy, fermentation. And carbon dioxide is poisonous because you breathe that out. You breathe in oxygen and you breathe out carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide will kill you. But the plants can take it in and they breathe back out oxygen. That's the relationship with nature. So the cells now, in its desperation to live, it starts to grab at the thing that's in abundance, which is carbon dioxide is in abundance, because it's can't get enough oxygen. So it starts to use carbon dioxide. If it gets stuck in that mode of utilizing carbon dioxide, that's how cancer becomes, they call metastasized. Because those cells get stuck in the mode of utilizing carbon dioxide to make energy. And if it's spread enough and it goes to certain parts of the body, that's how you die. Incidentally, let me say something very controversial here. And the two kind cancers that they promote the most is which two? That they say they want to research and money for. Which are the two most common they want to research on? Two most common cancers that they seem to want to research and want money for. Breast cancer is one of them, and which other one? Prostate. Prostate and breast cancer. So I say, why did they single out these two? In my opinion, because they are sexual related. So it's an emotional pull for you to give them money. Say, oh, you donate for breast cancer. Now here's the controversy. Do people die from breast cancer?
Yes.
Say, see a show of hands, people die from breast cancer. And prostate cancer. But people don't die from breast cancer. Because you can survive without your breast.
No.
Right? You can survive. I could take out your prostate and you live. The cancer has to spread to organs that you cannot live without for you to die.
Okay.
But they don't then change the name as, oh, that's why you die from breast cancer. No, you didn't. You die from whatever organ that was compromised. You die from cancer, not from breast cancer. But they highlight breast cancer and get you to give money and get people to cut out their breasts because it's emotional pull. And they can, the way they segment this cancer thing called the research, which you will learn about later, suggests that all cancer is the same. The same principle to do is oxygen. And they proved that in 2009. Cancer Research UK proved that. And you will see that research there when I get to it. They proved that all cancers are the same. Right? So this idea that why did they segment cancer to all the different parts, but they're just saying about where the physical evidence is. And guess what? If cancer is in your lung, it has to be in where? Your blood. Because nothing gets into your organs without first in the blood. So if it's in your blood, it's what? It's all over your body. Common sense? And your blood is everywhere. But they promote these segments as a way of expanding their business. So you have a man specialized in one area, and the other area, and it's bigger business. I make a jug for, I might make a special jug for breast, and I make a special, and then they go on and on and on. That's the game they play with people. Yeah, I mentioned already, if they get stuck in the mode of utilizing carbon dioxide, then you have a problem. All right? Yes. Right, in spite of Dr. Warburg's discovery in 24, cancer deaths have skyrocketed to our current epidemic proportion, right? Next one. Right. Now, I'm going to go through some of the organization and I'll get to the point about the Dr. Hold on a minute, I think. Okay, yeah, go ahead, yeah. Well, let's go through that, right? The solution was confirmed by cancer research, but confirmed by the research done by Cancer Research UK in 2009, right? Okay, this is the article that came up in the Express on Sunday. Look at the headline: Oxygen kills cancer. The important thing to note that it didn't say a drug kills cancer. What did it say? Oxygen kills cancer. That's what it says. What did Dr. Warburg say about cancer? It has something with oxygen in it. Just do the simple thinking. And no way of destroying cancer, radical increase in effectiveness of radiotherapy. So they're not changing what they're going to use on it. Well, just read on. Was last night Herald as a very exciting break. Why is it a breakthrough? Didn't Dr. Warburg don't tell him about this already? So this is the nature of the world we live in. Like they don't stockpile information. Okay. You hear what I said here? Look at this. If the oxygen supply within a tumor is increased, cancer cells become more sensitive to treatment. What are they saying here? They are saying that when you increase the oxygen to the cell gets more compliant. Experts hail the discovery as groundbreaking and say it would allow drugs to prime and soften up potentially bad deadly tumors before they target with intensive treatment. So they're not changing their treatment. But that is revealing. Research was carried out on breast, egg, neck cancers as well as carcinomas that line the surface of skin and organs. What is hoped, the treatment will be as effective in all radiotherapy treated tumors, including those notoriously hard to treat, such as pancreatic cancer. Now, when you interpret this information, look at the areas that they're saying that they've done the research on. What is that confirming? That is the
treatment irrespective.
It is the same cancer. The fact that they're saying to you all these different areas have responded to this oxygen thing. They're telling you it's the same nature. Furthermore, this one here, pancreatic cancer, is notoriously hard to treat. Why? Because the pancreas is one of the organs that are the most delicate in the body. It cannot take much pressure the way like the liver can take a lot of pressure. You can cut out a piece of your liver and you still survive. The liver is very robust. But the pancreas is very delicate, can't take much of a pressure. So that is why it's notoriously hard for them to put chemo on it, because you just die. Right? So when people get pancreatic cancer, they're usually gone. Right? So now they're saying, oh well, yeah, no, maybe we could get to this now because we found oxygen. Wonderful breath of oxygen. And to them it's a breakthrough.
It means the oxygen helped that treatment to work.
That's what they're interpreting it. What they're not looking at is the root cause. So if it's the lack of oxygen that Dr. Warburg said caused the problem. So in other words, logic says you need to correct why the cell is not getting oxygen. Or better still, since the body is equipped to deal with things, the body is that has tremendous defense system. The naturopath says let the body does its work. Or at minimum, don't put things in it that harm it. You cannot burn out bad, good cells and try to fix me. You cannot put acid in my body when my body needs alkaline. You cannot do that. Because the body's natural state is an alkaline state. That's when you have health. And furthermore, it is proven that the cancer don't survive in a very oxygenated environment. It doesn't. Okay, let me prove something to you. This is one of the major breakthroughs that I had when I did my research. Can you name a part of the body that you've never heard people have cancer?
Tonsils.
No, you get cancer there.
Is it?
You get throat cancer. Is there a part of the body that you've never heard of cancer? People having cancer.
The toe.
People having face.
Your hair.
Joint. Joint. Joints.
You want me to tell you where it is? That is rare to the point where, even when they mention that there has been cases, when you read it carefully, it turned out that it never originated in that area, but that migrated from elsewhere. You know which organ it is?
No.
The heart.
Heart.
Heart. Have you heard of people have heart cancer?
Just
Why
heart.
not?
Only heart attack.
Why is the heart seem to be resistant to cancer?
It's full of oxygen.
Exactly. The heart is full of what? Oxygen. And cancer does not like what?
Oxygen.
Oxygen. You see? This is the thing when the evidence that I've put together, when you read, because I can just barely touch the surface with this thing to show you that the evidence is there. If they just put the thing together, they can fix it, but they're not geared to fix this problem. They're not geared to fix it. Right, so let's move on with this. Right, this is the other part. Previously, experts, listen to this nonsense. Previously, experts have tried to cut off the blood supply, fueling tumor growth to starve and kill it. So what they're saying over the years, what they're doing with cancer cells, cut off the blood cell of the cancer cell to starve it to death. Hold on a minute. Isn't that a problem there? What did Warburg say? Oxygen deprivation caused the problem. They're saying they're doing the same, in other words, they're making the problem worse.
Yeah, but how's the oxygen going to get to that part if they cut off the blood supply?
That's what they're saying. That's what previously experts have tried to cut off. That's what they were doing. This is what they were approaching it. That's what they're admitting.
Yeah, but it's the blood that takes the oxygen.
I'm just saying, this is what they're saying. I didn't write it. That's what they're saying. They said previously that's what they were doing. I'm just giving a sense of how little they understand of what they're doing. This is like I said previously, but the new method improves the blood supplies within the tumor, increasing the concentration of oxygen. This is what they're saying. And they think, wow, it's a breakthrough. Look, it's having a miracle effect on the cancer. This is what they're saying. Right? Yeah, that's a usually cancer cell fight to survive. You may have mentioned about the resistance that cancer cells develop. But the new treatment makes them weak. So they're saying cancer, oxygen makes the cancer cell weak. They're owning up to it. But guess what? They're in the drugs business, so they say, oh, it's more receptive now. And less resistant to treatment. So it's weak and more receptive then. The other way, it's more receptive to treatment now because the oxygen makes it weak.
I'm intrigued by the first 4 words in the third paragraph. Sorry, the first 5 words in the third paragraph. Usually cancer cells fight to survive.
Yeah.
But that does not only apply to cancer cells. It applies to all cells.
Yeah, true, but since we're concentrating on this, yeah, that's what they're saying, isn't it? They said cancer-lowering oxygen are 3 times more resistant to radiotherapy. So when it's growing oxygen, it's very tough. They can't deal with it. That's what they're saying to you. They're owning up to the thing. So by restoring oxygen levels to that of a normal cell, the tumors become 3 times more sensitive to treatment. See, this is what Cancer Research UK came out with 2009. How many years ago is that? And we moved on. Cancer is still growing rapidly. But you put that together in 1924 and all sorts of the evidence that I've compiled in the book, you see exactly that this problem can be fixed. But the system is not here to do it.
Excuse me, so how will the cells get the oxygen to kill the cancer?
That's the question I was asking.
Pardon me?
If they cut off the blood supply, there's no way unless they pump oxygen into it.
But they were not into oxygen. That wasn't their approach. That was never their approach. They're saying this is a breakthrough. They are saying this is a new discovery. You follow the point? What I'm saying in 1924, that's what they gave Dr. Warburg the Nobel Prize for. His argument was about oxygen. I mean, I'm just reading a bit of what he had to say, but he said a lot about that in the book. His research was about oxygen. It wasn't about anything else. Because he made a hypothesis that if you deny the cells of oxygen, what would happen? So he did that thing where he reduced the cells by 80%, all of them died. He brought it down to a certain, like 60%. When he brought it down to 60%, some died, some mutate, right? And some weak. So the ones that mutate is what they call cancer. Mutated cells are the another name for cancer cells, right? So just to give you, I said, these are some of the organizations that I got information from. Right? Just to walk you through to say this is not an opinion book. Right? World Health Organization, their information, they got lots of information there on their website. Right? This, what is Dietetic Association, National Institute of Dental and Craniofacial Research. Now these are the people who point out that people lose their teeth. And I didn't know that people's teeth fall out of their head. And if you just think about the simple logic of that, if your teeth, your healthy teeth can fall out of your head as a result of taking chemo, what does it do to the softer tissue of your body?
It will destroy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying to you. And this is what people need to understand, because I didn't know that. I know people lose their hair. I didn't know their teeth would fall out. As a matter of fact, did you know that most people actually die from chemo, not from cancer? You know that? Oh, it's chemo that kills most people, not the cancer.
So it kills the healthy cells.
Because if you understand how the way the immune system works, and as I said, when you put things in your body either digests it or try to get it out. Right? Now, when you're in a very acidic state, like your body becomes cancerous, right? Your body's working overtime to push things out in it. Your liver, your kidney, trying to filter, your lymphatic system, trying to do things. All of these things are full pelt trying to save your life. Then you go and add another problem to it. A really powerful chemical that's attacking the body, killing good cells. How your body's going to react to that drug? It's going to be an alarm. It's going to reduce adrenaline. You know, adrenaline is the flight and fright hormone, where if you're frightened, it reduces adrenaline. Now, it's good for you to run and take you to danger, but you don't want to have that supply in the body constantly. You can see that as a problem in it, because adrenaline becomes poisonous in your body. If you have too much of it, you feel sick. Like if you get really frightened, you feel sick in it, because too much adrenaline. So if your body's on attack from chemotherapy, and all this radiotherapy and all that, your body's going to be like pumping out all that stuff, and you're going to get even more sick. So the body then have a problem to filter it out fast enough, so eventually you die from blood poisoning of something, and your body can't flush it out quick enough to get rid of it. Because that then you're weak, you're not exercising, you're not doing anything, you're not eating, so you're in a state where the chemo will kill you. Most people actually die from that. Right, so these are some of the institute. These are some of the doctors who've been from over 20 doctors that supply the information. So not all the doctors in agreement with the system. So that was a good thing. Even though the system is so big and everybody is like, it's a dominant system in the West, but lots and lots of doctors there that, Dr. Africa, you might recognize him, but most of these others. That guy named Alex Carroll is very important to look up, because he was the one who demonstrated things to do with cells, that if you put them in a certain solution, in a certain condition, the cells could literally live forever. I give it clean oxygen and clean fluid. And they had this experiment at last. I think you took chicken cells, put it in a fluid, and keep changing the fluid and the oxygen supply, and it lived for over 20, a long period longer than a chicken would live there. And the cells only died when the person forgot to change the solution, and the cell died. When they didn't clean it, change it to a clean set of fluid, then it died. So he did that experiment to demonstrate this whole idea about cleansing the body, keeping the body clean, in other words, the detoxification. And there's one example I cited in the book that a guy cured himself. He's claiming he cured himself from prostate cancer by detox and nutrition. That's he was claiming that, right? Alright, so let's look at the content, some of the contents. So we have the naturopathic approach, the allopathic approach. We talk about cancer in the world to explain it. Why is this mystery surrounding cancer? So you need to understand the nature of the disease, how it works, how the body becomes cancerous, etc. People need to understand that, how it works. So, because nobody else is explaining this to anybody, right? Not in the public domain anyway. So we explain what is cancer. So the experiment that indicated the cure to do with Dr. Warburg, and talk about the acidic factor, talk about the oxygen thing and how it works and all of that. And then why, the logical conclusion they should have taken from Otto Warburg. We'll go through that. This idea of conspiracy, because people seem to think that, oh yeah, they know the answer, but they're not telling us. It's not really true. It's not really like that. They don't know the answer. But it's not quite, what happened, they suppress everybody else from coming in. But it's not like they know themselves. They're just protecting their market. So that's what they do. So they suppress any form of natural thing and say, no, we can't allow that. Because they've set up a system that you have to jump through certain hoops to get on their system. And you're going to fail those markets anyway. All right? So we teach people about what chemotherapy does to the body, because most people haven't got a clue what it does to the human body. So there's a whole heap of documentation on that. Chemotherapy does not work, except in certain minor cases. But in effect, the research is overwhelming. It does not work on the ones that is causing us these big problems. It does not work.
I think it gives you time. It buys you time.
An assumption, because you don't know what would have happened if you didn't take it. You make an assumption that you've lived longer, but you can't prove it.
No.
You see, that's the point. You're making an assumption that you've lived longer. But how do you know you'd have lived longer if you didn't take it?
Yeah.
There's no way of knowing, is it? So that's an assumption. Alright? So we talk about the lifestyle that becomes a cure. Right? So lifestyle is a cure, you want to prevent it. An alternative approach to overcome the cancer epidemic. So I don't use the word cure, I use the word overcome for legal reasons, right? So you can't say cure, right? The protein myth, because we eat too much protein. This idea that the body needs so much protein is a fallacy, right? What's the percent, the period that the human gene grow the fastest is baby stage, yeah? What's the percentage of the mother's milk that's protein? Milk is supposed to be, you drink milk for protein. What percent do you reckon is protein? Breast milk?
About 20?
Less than 5% is breast
Less than
milk. So, but the baby grows fast during drinking breast milk. So the idea that you need a lot of protein is not true. Furthermore, you get more protein from almond than some meats. You'll be surprised at what natural things. As a matter of fact, buy a carton of orange juice and look at the back if it doesn't have protein listed and carbohydrate listed as in orange juice. Protein is in every living thing, and the body don't need that much to survive. People don't die from protein deficiency because it's in everything. You have to literally be starving to die from protein deficiency. You have to be starving literally to die from it. Right. Then we I teach you about your body again. This is the whole teaching part. I teach you about the lymphatic system, how it works, and help you to defend yourself. They do what I do about cholesterol and your arteries. Now, they don't teach you that cholesterol have something to do with cancer. But recently, you know this drug they call statins?
Statin, yeah.
And it's been promoted as a drug against heart disease, isn't it? Recently, the headline news in the red TV saying, well, they think it can help to prevent cancer. So that's all I mean. So here is it that without going down my road, they're saying that cholesterol, because if they're saying statin will help to lower your cholesterol, is that what it is for, yeah? If they are claiming that lowering your cholesterol will help to deal with cancer, they are suggesting cholesterol has something to do with cancer. That's what they're owning up to, indirectly. But it does have something to do with it. Why would cholesterol affect cancer? Why would it affect your cancer situation? Anybody know?
Well, too much fat and so...
Clogs your arteries.
Right, so it prevents the amount of oxygen getting to the cells. Because if your artery gets smaller, less and less blood going through it, therefore less oxygen is going to the body. Yeah? Well, the arteries get this small, therefore less blood is going. And the blood is what carries the oxygen. Therefore, you're not getting your okay. What is, then we go, the next one is what is the correct human diet? So that's a question, because that's to do with science, yes? But that is the one we haven't got any definitive one. So we're going, no instruction manual came from our creator or God or whatever we conceive our being to be as to what is the correct human diet. So the book deals with the science of that. What is can be proven as to what human beings should be dieting on. Right. Let's have, I think there's a video. I don't know if these videos seem to not be. I had a video to show you about this whole debate about what is the correct human diet. Here is a lady. I don't know why this is not. Why is not right. Okay. The one thing about the correct human diet, there's a lady that on YouTube called Annette Larkin. You can look her up. Look up Annette Larkin, right? Annette. Right. Go on YouTube and look up Annette Larkin. And you'll find that she has a situation where people see her and think that she's like, well, let's put it this way, she has a husband. When they go out, they will say to the husband, if they don't know them, you brought your granddaughter with you. And some might say you brought your daughter with you. What's the age difference between these two people? He's 4 years older than her.
Oh, wow.
4 years older, and they're saying he's his granddaughter some cases, and some cases his daughter.
So that work out.
You have to be at least maybe 12, if you're going to push it, 12-year-old and somebody to maybe their father. You know. All right, if you push the biology of it, something like that. In them type of region, you can impregnate somebody. They are saying they're on a 4-year apart, and when people see her, she's actually 70 years old in reality, and she's 74 at the time. But people are saying he's her grandfather. And you see the contrast, and it's her diet. And she said, well, people say, oh, it's a gene, maybe it's running your family. She said, no, my mother died at 30-something from cancer. My family died from that. All her family had problems. She said, genes have nothing to do with it. And then you see her story about what is it she eats and blah, 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 right? So we go through that. Now we talk about limitations of government to overcome. So if we're waiting on government, it's not going to happen. Government cannot go and attack the food industry. Our government provide employment, blah, blah. That's not, they're political. They have to manage the economy and all of that stuff. So there's a limit that they can do. But what they can do is to make the playing field level. In other words, take down the legal barriers where they don't. Make it equally easy for people of natural things to operate. That's what they can do. But in terms of tackling the poison that they sell us, they can't. Their hands are tied in that regard. Yes. And then we deal with some food and lifestyle relationship to cancer and disease. So we look at some foods and the lifestyle, like sour, fried food, salt, sugars, alcohol. And I explain all of these in the book, how they relate to cancer, etc. Right? End of the show. So